Hey, hi everyone. Opinion time. Well, taking from the words of the great Clint Cooper, it hasn't taken so long. The Hamilton County Board of Education is to vote in a couple of weeks whether to make interim superintendent Dr. Kirk Kelly the school board's permanent next superintendent. So,
Little background on Kirk Kelly and why that's important.
Dr. Kirk Kelly, and this is. Go ahead.
Oh, well, Kirk Kelly was voted by the Hamilton County Board of Education in the spring as the interim superintendent of schools. Dr. Kelly had been a long administrator since about 2000, 2001, somewhere in there, with the Hamilton County schools. And most of the time he had been, I think, assistant superintendent for testing and accountability. I believe that's correct. And so this is.
And Pam has something interesting to say on that in a second, but yeah, but he was, and then he moved up when Rick Smith stepped down
After the
Ottawa rape
case.
scandal, and he was promoted to interim superintendent, and it's been months and months, and they
About 3 months, I think.
April, I think. It was April, May, I don't know.
Right.
Well, Rick Smith stepped down earlier in the year, but
That's
it's
right.
been many months since we've had a full-time superintendent, and the board is now, I don't know if I can say finally, but it seems like it's been a while. They're now beginning to grapple with the idea we need to find a full-time superintendent. So, so the question is, Kirk Kelly, somewhat representative of a person who's been in the school board for many years, during which time most people agree things haven't been that swell in the school system.
Especially after the Ottawa rape case and all the fallout from that about the former superintendent's reaction or lack of reaction to handling that matter. So there have been, how many new school board members that replace incumbents? Three. So that happened a couple
They campaigned
months
on
ago.
change.
Campaigned on transparency and change, and you have Dr. Kelly, who's been immersed in this for a while now. So what Pam
3 decades.
3 decades. So what Pam's saying, her editorial, you can read, where's the change we sought in our schools? So
I think Kirk Kelly's title was, before he became interim superintendent, was accountability and data. And he was in charge of all of the things that the children learned, their testing, some of the curriculum, the data that shows how students were doing, and those are some of the things that were really problematic with our school system, even way considerably before the Ottawa rape cases.
okay.
Our test scores have lagged behind much of the nation for years and years and years during a large part of his tenure. Not that that's totally at his feet, of course, but
And there are other
he was in charge of that.
allegations of harassment that have been going on with several schools previous, before the Ottawa rape case too. All sorts of things that the DA has released in reports. And so, like we're talking about, change is something we've heard a lot, especially from these new school board members. Ellis and I spoke with one of them, Tiffany Robinson, who is now representing the Highland Park area, and she made it clear to us and wanted to make it clear to, she read both of your editorials, and to the public, that she and other members are very disappointed, they're upset, they were shocked, and she said what happened that you mentioned also, that you wrote last week. School board member Kathy Lennon made the original motion to vote in interim superintendent Kirk Kelly to a permanent superintendent, and then Tiffany Robinson said what happened this week is two other board members, Joe Galloway and David Testerman, motion to put this on the agenda for November 17th, and it only takes 2 to do that. And again, she just kept stressing that it's a huge surprise to many of the members, and they didn't know this was going to be on the agenda. She's been talking to parents, community members about this, Tiffany Robinson says, and this is not from the school board as a whole. She also said she's trying to understand why anyone wouldn't want to go through a transparent process saying if interim superintendent wanted to become superintendent, then he should go through the process.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason this is weird is there's this whole Chattanooga 2.0 movement going on. There's a lot of grassroots support for change. People would like their students to maybe learn a little bit in school and do well and be prepared for the workforce, and the businesses are saying the same thing. So there's a big community discussion going on right now, and so part of the reason that this has been confusing, I guess, is that while there's this big movement for transparency, and then you have two board members saying let's just keep the guy we've got. Instead of going through this search process, instead of doing a nationwide search, trying to find somebody who's meets whatever set of qualifications they're looking for, who can maybe lead the school system in a new direction where test scores go up instead of down, where kids are getting prepared for the workforce. And so I think that's part of what she campaigned on, and some others as well. And so, I mean, is that is that the way it feels to you guys?
I think so. And to be clear, we should say that Kirk Kelly is a wonderful man. He's a very nice man.
She stated the same thing.
Yeah.
He's a
nice
good
guy.
He's a good man.
Yes.
I'm sure he's done good work. To me, the problem with staying status quo, even while we're trying to look at all of these new things like Chattanooga 2.0, the problem with staying status quo is that Kirk Kelly and other administrators in the Hamilton County school system would not have as easy a time doing some of the house cleaning in the administration of schools, in the school central office, as a new person would. They have alliances that they've made with other people within the central office. We know that what's not working in the central office right now is not going to get any better if we just keep the same people and the same structure in place.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just a truism that if you've worked with a number of people over the years and you've been their friend and their coworker, and whether they've been doing good work or bad work, if you're the same person that's worked with them, you're just less likely to judge them as
maybe more objectively
as someone would from the outside. And so
Or to see new and better ways to do things.
right, because it's always been done this way, and I know that Dr. Kelly and Chief Academic Officer Jill Levine have instituted some new things this fall and some new reforms, and that they believe that this will be a help to students and to schools and teachers. But
Like what reforms?
well, I think they've done a new they've done something centralized around reading, and reading in the within groups of grades, I believe it is. I'm not sure the exact name of it, but a literacy project, I guess you might say. And I know they've gone to visit all the schools, every school, just to see what's out there and see what might be changed. So I know they're trying. I mean, I know that they want to change things, but I believe I just feel
is
in the
a reading
end
program and visiting schools, is that enough to change this
Right.
sort of I don't know how to put it, but we've been kind of down in the dumps here in Hamilton County in terms of school achievement. Is that enough to bring that up?
Well, I think it's true that one of the problems in the schools is reading, and reading by third grade, and then if you don't read by the third grade, then it gives trouble all the way up. So reading is something that needs to be improved in the schools. So I'm not against that.
Sure.
I would never be against that. But I just think that just overall, I just don't see how the current system can improve the schools as much as maybe
If a
someone
change
could.
is needed.
Right.
Yeah.
So is this the only thing you guys have ever agreed on? No.
Oh, no.
We agree.
No.
Surprisingly, we agree on a lot of local things.
Yeah, I don't know if we made it clear, but Clint Cooper writes for the Free Press, which is the conservative side of our publication, and Pam Sohn writes for the Times, the Chattanooga Times, which is the liberal side of our publication. But there are some issues, especially local issues, where you guys find some common ground, and sometimes that maybe means there's something going on worth paying attention to in cases like this.
And us on the other side, our question was, what is the reasoning
What was
there?
the reasoning? Which well, if you've got, because again, you got to put this in context. We have been having nonstop. We had a panel here at the Times Free Press, which I don't know if that was somewhat unprecedented, of educators coming together to talk about solutions for the community. Parents, kids from Howard, educators who are doing particularly well, talking about what can be done. There's a big discussion going on, and then to have two people say, well, forget all that searching for a new person, forget that nationwide search stuff, forget finding the best of the best. Not that Mr. Kelly, he may be the best of the best, I don't know, but to try to go outside that process that everybody's kind of getting behind was just really, I didn't understand it. And I'm not saying that's wrong or right, I just don't understand it.
Well, in the Chattanooga 2.0 movement, this past, I guess it's been about 11 months, maybe 12, has been focused on changing things in the school system, and so for students, so that in turn, when they graduate, they will be able to fulfill the higher paying jobs that are available in this area now.
Right.
Business folks have said that they are unable to fulfill these
We've got
high-paying
jobs open. We want to give people $20 an
Growth is
hour.
growing.
Local people.
We can't get anybody.
because they're not
I'm
qualified.
available. Okay.
I think part of the reason that the board members may be lobbied a little bit
Okay.
by teachers and people in the central office just for job security.
Yeah. Which you hate to.
People know that when
That you would base a decision on that.
Yeah, because how
instead
many
of
thousands of children's
Yeah.
lives are riding on what happens next, and
That
so,
makes, as a parent, outside of a reporter, that makes me uncomfortable.
yeah. I mean, I want everybody to have a job, but I want some of these kids to have a job too when they get out of
Right.
high school. Not just the people who already have jobs that have been in that
And,
job for a long time.
I mean, realistically, most of the teachers and most of the people in the central office are going to keep their jobs.
Right.
But all of us have, we all have self-preservation interest at heart, and we're all
Sure.
afraid of change.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
So I think that many people in the school system may be afraid of change.
You know who's not? Tiffany Robinson.
I don't think fear is in her vocabulary.
And-
She campaign on
She
change.
campaigned
yeah.
on
She
change.
did.
All of the candidates campaigned
Yeah.
on
And
change.
she said she's absolutely not voting for this. And that's moving
So
forward.
that's one vote against.
November 17th. That's when it's on the agenda. So
Right.
that's
Takes 5 votes.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Now, the other thing she raised, which was an interesting issue, is okay. So let's say we do this vote on Kirk Kelly, everything goes ahead. What if they vote him down? What kind of situation does that create?
Yeah, what does that
You've got
create?
this search going on.
Well-
essentially, what amounts to a vote of no confidence in the
concerning for
the
her.
current head of the school system. What does that do to the school system?
Unfortunately, that's the way it will look
Yeah.
if they
Right.
vote him down, that they have no confidence in him. However, it could be that they just wish for a process to go through.
Yeah.
And if Dr. Kelly wants to apply to that process, I think he should.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the way, to me, it ought to go forward. That way, Dr. Kelly and any other candidate who applies and who the school board selects can go through the process, and then he can be compared to the other candidates.
Yeah, the best of the best that we can find from our
Right.
nomination.
And so I think that's the way it ought to go forward. And I know that some of the members, especially probably Dr. Testament and Joe Galloway, will say, and probably Kathy Lennon would say that, hey, by voting in Dr. Kelly, we can save the county $60,000, which is what the search firm will require.
well.
On
when
the
it-
other hand,
Go ahead.
$60,000 is a drop in the bucket.
What's the size of their budget?
To these
I mean,
$400 million.
$400 million. So if they're going to start
Right.
worrying about $60,000,
Right.
there might be some people who could raise their hand and say, "I know where we can save
Right.
$60,000."
And what about let's count the lost value of these children's paychecks,
Lives.
lower
Right.
wages,
Sure.
or no jobs if they can't get jobs when they get out of
How
school.
much did the Ottawa lawsuit cost them?
Yeah,
There's no telling.
that'd be interesting to know.
I think the counter is still going up on that.
Yeah,
Right.
that cash
Yeah.
register is still ringing.
Mess. But first, when we were questioning the reasoning, I initially said money, because everything comes down to money, doesn't it? But so, like we said, moving forward, this is on the agenda for Hamilton County Board of Education, whether or not to vote in the interim superintendent, Dr. Kirk Kelly, or not. You got these three so far, Kathy Lennon, Joe Galloway, David Testerman, who Kathy Lennon initially motioned it, now these other two, so that's three. And then you have Tiffany Robinson representing Highland Park. That's one against it. We'll see what's going to happen. We'll certainly be there. We'll have coverage of this and see if there's going to be a change made, right?
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think there will be some fallout one way or
Me
the other.
too.
Because even if they vote to vote him in, and they say, okay, you're the superintendent now, well, what happens if somebody else says, well, I want to go ahead with my motion and do the search? So now we have, I
Right.
mean, it just creates a really unusual
It
situation.
is.
That's actually what happened on last week's vote, where they, when Kathy Lennon made the initial suggestion that they vote that Kirk Kelly be the superintendent, then another vote from one of the other members
Okay.
said that let's substitute the motion to go ahead with the search, Greg Martin,
Okay.
for this motion. So they substituted that motion
I know, it's just,
For-
it's
for
like
the-
watching tennis.
for the motion for Kirk Kelly to be superintendent, and then they voted unanimously
For the search.
for the search. So they actually substituted that motion for the original motion.
Odd.
It's hard to wrap
have,
your mind
they
around.
might have made this vote, except that they were not allowed by law to take that vote without giving
Notifying the
15
public.
notifying the
Right.
public
Right.
a certain amount of time.
Yeah, it's like when you're searching for a job, they're required to do like so many things or talk
Right.
to so many people when they may already have their person
Right.
already in their pocket. I hate it when employers do that. But Greg Martin, you mentioned, he's also involved in a race of his own.
Yes, yes, he's running
Hickson.
for county commission.
County Commission, yeah.
That could make it interesting too, because if he is elected county commissioner, which is Tuesday, then
We'll be covering it.
It depends, I guess, on when he would be
Sworn
inaugurated,
in.
sworn
Yeah.
in as county commissioner, and that would leave the school board with 8 members, potentially 4 members or 3 members now for Dr. Kelly, and probably 4 members at least, perhaps, for
For the nationwide search.
for the nationwide search, and so potentially it might be 4 to 4, or so.
And the weeks keep ticking by. I mean, the thing to keep
Right.
in mind is, again, this has been going on all year. We still don't have a boss of the school system, as we are, you talk about lobbying and politicking and people concerned about, okay, am I going to be the one on the chopping block if somebody comes in with a competency level that they don't respect what I do or something, and all these are little bitty concerns. Meanwhile, you've got thousands and thousands of
42,000
students.
students.
They're going
Yeah.
through a school system that the state has all but said is fundamentally flawed and could be taken over at any time because it's so bad.
5
And-
schools.
Yeah, 5 schools, and you're getting these kids are going every day through this school system. I mean, that
No one would argue that everyone needs a leader, especially
it's a
thousands of
400
children.
It's a 400 million. You said the budget was $400 million. It's a 400 million a year business. Essentially
Right.
with no CEO. I mean,
Right.
I mean, what do you? I don't
I'm
understand. how-
available.
it is mind-boggling. It can only happen in school boards, I guess. You don't see it too many other places like this.
And certainly, again, I'm going to mention Tiffany Robinson. She was very passionate and about her being upset, and some other board members. She didn't mention specific names. So, you hear this kind of thing, and what do you think when you hear? At least there are board members who are passionate about still pressing for change, right?
Right.
Do you think that's a positive
Yes,
in all of
I
this?
do. I definitely
That
think,
people care.
yes.
I hope they all care. I hope
Yeah.
all 9 care. I think
Care
all,
for
I-
change.
I don't know that all 9 care for change. I do think all 9, even some of those who are for keeping Dr. Kelly and keeping things status quo, I think some of them, probably all of them, love children and love students and have worked with students, but they just fundamentally believe that keeping things status quo would be the best way to go. I
And
disagree.
I think that they also believe that that Kirk Kelly is making change.
You
That's a good
mentioned
point.
some of the ways
The reading
that
program, visiting all the schools.
Right, that's just a few of them.
Right,
The reading
so-
program, if I understood it right, they will have someone else in the room that is able to work with children on other things while the teacher works with the children who don't read as well.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a
That's-
you know,
that's-
a good
that's
means of
a good
change.
thing,
Yeah,
but-
definitely. So it's kind of debatable, people, different members' opinions of what change is needed.
Yeah, what the change is.
Right, and I'm sure our education reporter, Kendi Rainwater, is working to talk to all of the board members, and she'll certainly be there
Yeah.
covering it. We'll be there
Yeah,
covering
we'll
it.
learn more. If Kendi's
Yeah.
on the case, we'll definitely continue to learn more as this goes forward. She's an excellent reporter.
Right.
Right.
Okay, and speaking about change, there's going to be a big change happening on Tuesday, nationally.
What's going on?
What's happening?
I don't know. I haven't,
Yeah.
haven't heard about that. Could you
Really?
enlighten
Tell
us?
me more.
Not much usually happens on Tuesday. It's a slow day of the
It
week.
is a slow day.
Yeah, I mean, can you believe it's finally gotten here? The presidential election.
Finally.
You were
Is it
probably
over
hoping
yet?
it would stretch out a little longer. Another month of campaigning
Oh
would be.
gosh,
a lot of fun.
I can't.
That's all we need.
I can't handle any more of these bombshells.
Oh man, the only thing that could happen that would be better would be if we had like a Bush Gore situation where we don't even know who won
Oh my
for a little
gosh,
while.
no.
That would be fun. Get all the lawyers to go down to Florida and count votes one by
It
one.
is something
for
to
a while.
write about.
Yeah, it would give us.
Yeah.
Job security.
That's right.
Speaking of job security,
So we will know. We will have a lot of really fun election coverage, and I know you guys will be all over that as well. We will.
Are you nervous? Like, how do you feel? Any thoughts on where your writing
It's
is going
kind
to
of
go?
turned back into a toss-up, hasn't it?
I
I
will
don't
see.
think so.
You don't think so? All right.
I'm pretty
Prediction.
confident.
Why not?
I'm
Confidence.
pretty confident.
Confidence from the Chattanooga Times: Hillary Clinton will prevail.
Why do you think that?
I think that there are plenty of people who see the flaws in Donald Trump.
What do you think?
I think that perhaps more than any election in many years, there are people out there that we just don't know, A, how they'll vote, and B, that they'll vote perhaps and haven't voted in a number of years. I think more than any other year, polls really may not exactly measure where people are. I'm not saying Donald Trump will win. I'm not saying Hillary Clinton will win. I'm just saying I think more than any other year in recent years, the polls may not accurately reflect where people are.
And we have a story in from our political reporter, Andy Scher, out of Nashville. Thanks, Andy, about early voting has busted records. So we have that up right now for you on the website, timesfreepress.com. And we're going to continue to move forward with all this election coverage. So I've been calling local Democratic Party people and Republican people. Spoke with Senator Bill Watson this morning, spoke with big Democrat Annie Hall last night about ways to see this election through people's eyes who are really in it. Democratic side, Annie Hall mentioned there have been some women who came to volunteer at the local headquarters, and they didn't know each other, and then they became best friends, and they show up the same time every day, and there's been like a bond between women. That is
That's
cool.
sweet.
That is a cool story.
So
Cool
brutal
story.
politics.
Women
are,
becoming
are,
friends.
Yeah, are
I
making
like
new
that.
friends.
Strong women and nasty women.
You can also put
potentially
an ad in our
women
classified
unite.
section.
Unite. All right, and then on the Republican side, Senator Bo Watson, mentioned a woman named Martha Yesick, I'm hoping I'm getting the name correctly, is a delegate for Trump. And she'll
She's
be
here, right?
Yes, and she'll be speaking to the Pachyderm, Hamilton County Pachyderm, on Monday. So there's different stories. I'm just looking for stories, stories of people involved, just different from walking up to the polls and talking to people.
The Trump headquarters is actually behind her
Okay.
former center on the Gun Barrel Road, which is where his headquarters is.
Yeah,
behind
that's
Yessex.
interesting.
I think it was called Yessex Design Center. It's on Gun Barrel Road. That's where his headquarters is.
Okay. Yeah, so we're going to be looking into those stories behind the big story, because I know you don't want to see us just, at the polls.
We don't need to talk about
and
Trump
at
and Hillary anymore. You already know what
parties
you think about them, probably. So
Yeah.
we're going to talk about you instead, which
Yeah,
is a much
we're
more
going to talk about
interesting
the
topic.
people. reporters talking about people. Imagine. Yeah. Okay.
Although I would love to hear the story.
Okay.
If you follow a story of whether whether one of you goes to the poll on election day
Into the booth.
really and has no idea.
That's an interesting
I'm going to vote for
story.
Trump. I'm going to vote for Clinton. I'm going to vote for Trump. I'm going to vote for Clinton. I would love to hear from, or I would like
too.
you all to do a
That'd be a
story,
good story, yeah.
on just what your thinking was and why it took so
Yeah.
long to get there and what you were thinking about. And
Some people I think are still conflicted.
I'm sure.
We had
Definitely.
somebody on who was kind of.
Oh, right.
Remember?
Who used to work for Corker, actually.
Used to work for
who
Corker,
said
but
he
he kind
was
of
a
was-
Republican, and now he's
Now he's kind of an independent. He's not sure, but
Right.
yeah, if we could
We
find.
should follow up with him and
Yeah.
see if he's.
Yeah, we could.
He
I
said
just
he
think
was
that's
going to
interesting.
vote too.
Yeah,
He
I
said
think
he was going to vote.
They are out there. They are. I didn't think they were.
Definitely.
But given all the coverage this year, more than maybe other years, all that's been said on both sides, all the negative things on
Yeah.
both sides that you think, you know,
Well, people are trying
just
to
don't
figure
know.
out.
I don't know.
People are, and I know pastors have preached on this too. Is what's the moral choice this election, right? If you, and I think that's what a lot of people are struggling with.
well, it's interesting. My pastor who has spoken really kind of a series of sermons just on, we'll all survive.
That's true.
No
yeah.
matter who wins.
Wednesday will come.
And where,
like a horrible
and where to
thing
put
to
your
say.
trust. Where to put your trust.
Yeah.
Not to put it in,
In man.
one side or the other. But anyway.
And
That's just,
people's ideas of morals are
They're different
very
as well, yeah.
individual
Sure,
per person.
sure.
So when you were talking about people undecided or potentially not voting, like somebody I know, Senator Bill Watson said, tell Ellis when you don't vote, you are actually contributing to the vote because you're contributing to somebody winning. So I thought that was a good point. When you're not voting, you kind of are voting.
So you're saying you've got me either way, Bo? Is that what you're saying?
He was trying to sway my votes too. And
He's
I was
always a campaigner.
He is. He's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So, you guys voted? You
I have.
voted. I voted on election day. You
no one
voted?
else can
I
vote
haven't
till
voted
election day.
yet. Election
now.
Yeah,
day.
it's
Yeah,
a,
we
yeah.
can't.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. Except for
Oh my
oh,
gosh.
can we? And I know you guys have to go. You're so
Yeah.
kind with your time. Can we address this ridiculous WRCB thing? Have you guys seen this?
Yes,
There's
the conspiracy.
There's the conspiracy.
This is-
And look, I'm not a
our media
liberal.
partner.
I'm not a liberal. I'm not a conservative. I just work in the news business. And there's this story going around on WorldNet Daily, Alex Jones, which basically is saying there's a liberal conspiracy afoot in the media that Hillary's going to win the election, and they're pointing to as evidence a WRCB webpage that briefly popped up that had some vote totals on it, and it had Hillary ahead, and they said this is evidence that the vote is predetermined, it's already been decided, and look. Let me explain how this works. The Associated Press has stuff that it sends out, and they send out test pages so that you can make sure that it works with your website, because everybody has different websites. WRCB has one, so the AP sends you a bunch of code, and then you try to make it work so it fits in there and it doesn't look wonky, and you do a test page, and that's literally it. And they do
And
this
you
for
do
every
this
election.
test page ahead of time because
It's too late.
At crunch deadline
Yeah.
on election
You're
night,
working on the election, so
we
you don't want
can't
to
be
do that.
starting from scratch. We have to
Yeah.
have a template, a plan going in.
Yeah.
Because literally, the votes roll in at the last minute, close to our deadline. I'm talking about not even presidential elections.
The
I'm
local-
talking about
yeah,
local
yeah,
elections.
local. Yeah.
And so, if we just plan to start writing when the last vote comes in,
Or
we
start
probably
coding.
or
a lot
coding,
of this is
right,
developers on the back end, so you have to have programmers that actually get that thing and wedge it into our website so it fits and
we
it looks
don't
good.
we don't make our deadline.
Yeah,
So,
so-
And you don't get your paper, and that's not good.
So
and
if
you don't
anybody-
like that.
No.
If anybody believes that WRCB is somehow part of the worldwide conspiracy, and there are news partners, sure, but we're still competitors in many ways.
We are.
But if anybody believes that WRCB is part of the worldwide conspiracy, email me or come over and I'll show you all the test stuff that AP
Digital
puts out.
director.
Yeah, because I work on the digital side. We do the same thing here. We just didn't accidentally make our page public.
So far as you know.
So far, I don't know. I shouldn't say that. Someone will find it.
Look at all this.
But yeah,
all
I
these
will. I will be
messages.
happy to show you how the news works if anyone would like to know. So please do not believe the conspiracy
Will
theories.
you show me?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, speaking of time, on Tuesday we're trying to decide who's going to go where. aware if we're going to be...
You're going to cover the Republicans, right? And I'm going to cover the Democrats?
No.
No, other way. Okay.
Ooh,
No, we-
get into
Go
much into
figure.
that. No, actually, I think we're going to decide, but you guys can weigh in. I'm sure you don't care, but I think we should kind of bounce back and forth.
Yeah, we were going to...
Here locally, by the way, the Democrats will be at Jefferson's.
Yes.
So it's kind of like a free-for-all. Like you show up, you pay for your own booze and
BYOB
food,
or-
and they're not throwing a bunch of money. You just do it yourself. And then the Republicans, hey, sorry, that's how it's going. Republicans are going to the DoubleTree though. So
The swanky, they'll be wearing tuxedos with cigars
Ballet.
and monocles.
We'll have top hats.
So Ellis will be there. No. I think we should. I kind of
We'll
think we
cover
should. I
both,
think we
probably.
should go back and forth because there's going to be several hours with the local results coming in. And that could, like the garden hire race, for example, Hamilton County may come in first, so it could look a little tight potentially. So I vote for that. I vote for we both go to both and bounce back and forth. So we'll see what
That
happens.
sounds equitable. All right, well, we
Okay.
will we'll figure that out.
Bring your wallet.
We're going to have a ton of coverage, so stay tuned on Tuesday at timesfreepress.com, and probably Monday, too. We're going to have a bunch of stuff. So if you have any interest in the election, what's going on here locally or nationally, we'll have all of that in a very convenient
And
place.
the school board, what's
Yeah.
going on. We're going to continue to follow this. A lot of people read both of your pieces today, including school board members. So go ahead, go on in the opinion section on the top of the website, and you can read both of those as well in the local section. Kendi's story, our education reporter, about the process and what is going on. So we'll hook you up with all that. We'll link it for you. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you for a wild election week next week. Bye, guys.